Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. We are here in Bucharest after Ruben Amorim's press conference. Straight in, straight back out, off to go and get some food, he says. But the press conference was very interesting, very entertaining. No punches pulled from the Romanian press, I tell you that. Some very straight up, blunt questions to Ruben Amorim, which I think he was thinking, how do I even answer these? And the British press, as you can imagine, Marcus Rashford, Marcus Rashford, Marcus Rashford, Marcus Rashford. I must have counted at least 5 or 6 questions. We managed to get a couple in as well, not about Marcus Rashford, about other topics. Also got a couple in to Leny Yoro. He was the player that joined Ruben Amorim. Seems like a very humble, grounded character, just going about his business. You forget how young he is. He's younger than me. How old is he? 18, 19 years old? I think he's 19 now. I'm 23 and I'm like, wow, so you're 4 years younger than me. But the position that he's in and the potential he's got and the future he has in the team, I think he's massive. I actually wanted to go back in and say to Ruben Amorim, like, what do you see as the future of Leny Yoro? But you only get a certain amount of time, and he's already answered how big of a part of the future he's going to be. And he had the confidence to play him through that first poor performance against Southampton, started in the game after that. That shows how much Ruben Amorim trusts Leny Yoro, speaks about his adaptation from a back four into a back three. And Ruben Amorim answering our question, which was, when you walked into the job, you must have known it was a difficult job, taking over Manchester United. Of course it was, after the years and years of failure. But is it more difficult than you initially imagined? And if so, why? And Ruben Amorim was quite straightforward with this. Not enough training with the team. Not enough training with the team, not being able to instill his principles quick enough, too many games. That was his main answer. I tried to follow it up and say, is it just training or do you also need support in the transfer windows? And he says, we have to work with the players that we've got. Of course, he wants signings, but we have to work with the players that we've got, was the answer. And that kind of links on to all of the questions he did get asked about Marcus Rashford. And there was quite a lot of them. There was a point where Ruben Amorim actually just started laughing midway through the press conference because there was that many, and other people around was laughing as well, because it's like, how many answers to the same question can you actually give? But it worked, because on the last Marcus Rashford question, he was prodded and he was poked, and he did give a little bit extra. Ruben Amorim's words were along the lines of, I don't want to verbatim say exactly what he said, so along the lines of, every single player in this team has to meet the standards. He's not training well enough, therefore he doesn't play. There's other people that aren't playing either, like Casemiro's not playing, but he's in the squad. Every player is different. He says it's not just Marcus Rashford. He said it's absolutely nothing personal. He just has to reach the standards. He says he has to change to play for Manchester United. He didn't rule it out. He said he has to change to play. And to me, because he did get asked about the Barcelona move, and he just didn't say anything on that. He never says anything about transfers. He didn't say anything about the Barcelona move for Marcus Rashford. But to me, that sort of does leave the door open for Marcus Rashford to come back into this team if he doesn't get a move in January. And stay with me here, because Fabrizio Romano did put out that the relationship is completely broken between Ruben Amorim and Marcus Rashford. You saw on the original first training clip when Ruben Amorim first came into Manchester United, Marcus Rashford and Ruben Amorim sharing a joke. Now they don't speak. Now there's no relationship. That's what's being reported. But Ruben Amorim did make it clear. He said, this team would be stronger with the talent of Marcus Rashford. We miss his pace. We miss his ability. We miss him as a player, because everybody knows, like, you know, you've seen people, well, not everybody, Ricky probably wouldn't agree, but there's a lot of people in this discourse saying, okay, yeah, he doesn't train well, maybe, you know, he's been inconsistent, but on paper, he's probably one of our best attackers, and we need that right now. Look at our attacking depth. Ruben should just play him. We're desperate for goals. We're desperate for pace. We're desperate for a match winner like Marcus Rashford in our side. But he has to uphold the standards, and that's what Ruben Amorim is making really clear. We miss the talent. Of course, we could do with a talent like Rashford right now. We're not scoring goals. Our attacking players haven't got much quality. Like, they've not. That's why we're looking at bringing Tell in. That's why we're looking at attacking options. Ruben Amorim desperately needs a striker. You know, there's a lot of potential in that team, but we've not got enough ability. So, of course, having Marcus Rashford's ability in the squad would be useful. But he has to change. He said he can play if he changes. It's just whether Marcus Rashford does change. And the reason why I said it doesn't completely rule him out going back into this squad, because if the transfer window closes and Marcus Rashford hasn't got a move, then it's very easy when that happens for Ruben Amorim, when he's asked about how come Marcus Rashford is now back in the squad? He's changed. I said he needed to change. I said his training needs to be better. And now it is, which is why he's back in the squad. It's an easy answer to that question. Whether it actually does happen that way, we'll have to wait and see. Ruben Amorim seems like a man to me that will not back down on his principles, and he made that very clear. Every single player has to have the same standards. So it's just whether the club kind of pushes him into that corner where it's like, look, Ruben, I know you don't want to play Marcus. I know you don't have a relationship with him, but he's on over 300 grand a week. He's one of our highest paid players, and we need to at least be able to get a fee for him. Him being on the bench is not going to do anybody any good. It's not going to do the value of this player any good. And, you know, it's just not a good look for us. We kind of need him to come back into the squad. Whether that would happen, it's interesting actually, because the Romanian press asked him a similar sort of question at the start of the press conference, and he was completely taken aback and dismissed it. So I'll get onto that. But whether that would actually happen, we don't know what happens behind the scenes. But that's an easy way for Ruben Amorim, if Rashford's move doesn't materialise, to say he's now changed, he's now hitting the standards, so he does play. I think Jamie Jackson, it was, actually followed up and said, well, isn't it a disciplinary issue? If he's not training at the standards to be a Manchester United employee, that's why he's being paid. And he just said, if he doesn't train well enough, he doesn't play. So very clear from Ruben Amorim. It's the most he's going to give. There's only so many times he can get asked about it. But there is a way out of that question if Marcus Rashford does stay at Manchester United past deadline day, and that is not ruled out. That's a very serious possibility. I still stand by what I said in my 2 p.m. show live from Romania earlier, if you were watching. Barcelona deadline day, hack job sort of deal where finances don't really favour Manchester United, but he's out playing and he's playing on the big stage and he's got something to prove. It might rise his value. That's my interpretation of it. In terms of whether Ruben Amorim would actually have to reintegrate Marcus Rashford and kind of cover it up, the Romanian press was really bold. It was like a fan was in the press room, which is what I feel like, to be honest with you. But I want to get a question next time. So sometimes you've got to know where to like push the boundary or where you don't. I try and ask questions where you get a really good answer, but also where it's not kind of disrespectful. Not saying that this is disrespectful, but if you only have ever had one opportunity, that's how it felt like. And he got asked, how would you feel if Sir Jim Ratcliffe rang you up on the day of a game and said you have to put this player in your matchday squad and you have to start this player? And Ruben Amorim sat there, he had a little laugh to himself, and he said that would never happen. I'm the manager of Manchester United. I decide these things. This would never happen. So it kind of shuts down what I was trying to say. I don't think it's as simple as, Ruben, you know, we really kind of need you to play. We need you to play this player. I don't think it's as simple as that, but it does put Manchester United in a vulnerable position in the transfer market with Marcus Rashford in the summer if he just stays at Manchester United out of the squad and doesn't play any football. So there might be some sort of conversations, you know, a little bit of wiggle room here and there behind the scenes. We'll have to wait and see. Deadline day is going to be an absolute cracker, I tell you that. And in terms of Ruben Amorim progressing this team and the difficulties of this team, he speaks and he says, we're losing games. That always makes things more difficult. We've not got enough training. We need time. We need to work with the players we've got. They have got potential there. We're going to need transfer windows as well, but time is the main thing. He says, I know you don't get much time at Manchester United, and I accept that, but too many games, not enough training. That is the most important thing that was driven home by Ruben Amorim, a comment that he's come back to time and time again. What I would say about this is I agree with him. You know, he hasn't had much time on the training ground. Coming in midway through a season is hard for any manager. Never mind walking into a club like Manchester United where it's been years upon years of failure and underperforming, and he's walked into a mess. Like, everyone can agree with that. So obviously it's going to be more difficult that way. But he's setting himself up because obviously he will still be here in the summer, and like he should be. Oh my gosh, I'd be rioting if he wasn't. He will be here in the summer. He will get a pre-season. He will get a summer transfer window. If he gets a good summer transfer window, which I feel like Ineos have to deliver with all the pressure that's on them at the moment and their involvement in the ownership and the running of this football club and the way they're going about things, they have to have a good summer. If he gets a good summer transfer window, he has that pre-season. Next year, the pressure is on because you're saying more training, more time, more training, more time, which I agree with him on, but he's obviously so confident in his abilities that this time next year, if it isn't going his way and everyone's saying, but you said you needed more training, you had a pre-season, what's going on? He knows things are going to improve. And that's why I have trust in this manager. He handled the media so well. And there's so many questions, obviously, that he doesn't want to answer. The Marcus Rashford one, for the example, but he handles it really well. He puts his foot down when he needs to. He won't be manipulated. And he truly stands on what he believes. And I look at Ruben Amorim and I look at the way he speaks. He believes more time with his team. He believes in himself that he will get us back up and running. And that makes me as a fan believe in him. You can tell, you can see it in him, how confident he is. This transfer window, I did ask, do you need more signings? Because obviously it's your first transfer window. Like, is the plan to get more signings in? Didn't want to speak too much on the transfer window. He seems like he doesn't want to talk about transfers at all. He completely shuts it down every time anyone ever asks about it. Dorgu will be a massive help. And I can't wait until Dorgu is officially signed, so he does get a question about him. Because if you would have asked, are you excited for Dorgu coming into the football club? What's he going to give you? Which is a question I would have loved to ask. He's going to say, I'm not talking about a player that isn't officially a United player and is a player of a different club. That's like the absolute script, isn't it? That every manager gets told to say before a signing is officially confirmed. Because if you do start speaking about a signing, then something falls through and medical's failed. It's not a good look for the club. So he was never going to answer that until he's official. But that's going to be a huge boost. That left-hand side has been... It's been neglected for far, far, far too long. So Dorgu's going to be a huge boost. Will he manage to get telling? Ruben Amorim needs number 10s. He needs a striker. He can play all three of the positions, right-sided 10, left-sided 10, striker. Is he the right signing? It's one of them where it's like the talent's there, and are you kind of filling in three problems with one player there? Because, gives Ahmad the option to go right wing back more. You've also got a left-sided 10 available. You can also use him as striker if Højlund and Xerxes aren't performing. Or do you go for best in class in one position? And I spoke about it more on the afternoon show, so you can watch that, about more of my opinions on him. He's super, super talented and a really exciting player. And he wants to come to Manchester United, by the way. And if we manage to get him over Arsenal, Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, who are in title races, going for trophies, Manchester United, who are having one of their worst ever seasons and are just down in the trenches, if we manage to pull off that player, the United pull's still there, I tell you that. Does he fix our issues, though? He certainly gives us more attacking option and boosts our quality. I'd take him. I'd 100% take him, because I think a lot of players would improve Manchester United in that forward line right now. It's our weakest part of the pitch. Anybody that's going to improve our quality in front of goal needs to be coming into this football club. Of course, you've got to analyse the character. You've got to analyse, their style and whether they suit you. But he can play right-sided 10. He can play left-sided 10. Left-sided 10, I think, would be his best position. He can play striker. Do Manchester United need a serious, experienced striker? Yes. But we're not getting one till the summer. I think Gyökeres, hopefully, will come to Manchester United in the summer. We still don't know what Alejandro Garnacho's future is. That might be one that moves again in the summer. I think he'll end up staying in January. Marcus Rashford, you assume he's going to go. He's going to have to go. That's what I got from that press conference. He has to go. Whereas Ruben Amorim's got a massive decision to make from now until the end of the season in terms of whether he brings him back in. So you need that quality behind that striker. And I think Tel can bring that through his, he carries the ball out really well. His dribbling's great. I think he'd suit the Premier League, his pace and his power. He's young. Yeah, we keep going down the young route, but it's bad. It's better than what we've got now. And we need better. It's so important. That could be the difference between the Europa League or not. And speaking of the Europa League, we do play FCSB tomorrow, 10 p.m. kickoff here in Romania. Wasn't many questions about that. Surprisingly so. But Ruben Amorim, what he did say about that was that it's crucially important that we get through. It's crucially important we don't have to play a playoff game. This is a massively important competition to Manchester United right now. He understands the gravity of the situation. And I've seen people online saying we might have bagged ourselves a little baby Mourinho, with the way he's putting his foot down, the way he stands on his morals and his values and his standards. And he's very strong and he's not afraid to drop stuff in the media that puts a player under the bus or puts his squad under the bus. But he'll also protect players as well. Very Mourinho-esque. He's his own person, but very Mourinho-esque, Ruben Amorim, 40 years old and strong. Very strong character, Portuguese. I think he needs to go full Jose Mourinho and put this Europa League top priority. It's absolutely crucial. I think he knows it. Champions League football. Ruben Amorim's used to playing Champions League football. Sporting Lisbon, for an example, been successful with the big teams in that competition. He will know. he can say what he says in the media, and most of the time, when he's talking about the players, when he's talking about the way we play football, he is 100% honest. He is honest, and that's what I like about him. He's honest to the fans. You really do feel like he's speaking the truth. You heard him a couple of weeks ago, guys, do you want me to be delusional? I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the honest truth. When it comes to what you see on the pitch, the performances, the standards, he's honest. Transfers, he doesn't lie, but he's reluctant to speak on it. He will absolutely know 100% that team needs rebuilding from top to bottom. He'll already know the players he wants to keep and, who needs to go this transfer window, who needs to go in the summer, who's probably going to go the window after that. He'll have a strategic plan to rebuild this football club and the squad he wants. And he'll be having discussions with Ineos behind the scenes. Realistically, guys, probably only going to want to keep like 5 or 6 players in the long term. We need a big rebuild to happen. He knows that. How do you do that? Champions League football, that would be the saving grace. If we manage to get Champions League football out of this absolute terrible season, that'll be job well done. You put it behind you. You think, thank God we got Ruben in when we did, and we move on to pre-season and we thank our lucky stars in the Champions League and we hope to do better next season. We don't get Champions League football. Okay, you can always fall back on the FA Cup. Some very big competitors in that competition. I know we're good against the big teams, but the Europa League is easier to win, just looking at it on paper. And Champions League football, Europa League football, I mean, you'll take what you can get if you're Manchester United right now, but if all else fails, Premier League, there's not a chance. We won't be in Europe. And then you've got to wait again and again and again. Money coming into the club is super important. So full strength team, I think you will see tomorrow. Will Leny Yoro play? Usually, a player, if they're in the press conference, it's an indication that they will. Let's see with that one. Leny, by the way, I'm glad someone asked him a question. We did, because last thing you want is a player sat up there and, feeling like a little bit of a lemon, like, why is no one asking me anything? I mean, if I was up there, I'd want to be asked something. He said that he's played in a back three before, he knows the system, he's adapting to it, he talks about his strengths in the game, and he picked Manchester United because he had good conversations about his future at the club and the pathway in the development. And he's a massive club. It's simple, really. He spoke really well. You could tell he was shy, but the clips will be out on social media. Can't recall absolutely everything from the top of my head because it's been such a filled day. And in the press conference, I was kind of just looking around like, oh my gosh, some of the questions that were flying out to Ruben Amorim from the Romanian press were like, oof. I think they asked him about the years upon years of failure and the 27 years that Sir Alex was here, and how does he turn that around? So it was a loaded question. Watch the press conference, guys, but thank you for watching my reaction. I am signing off from Romania. Just like Ruben Amorim and Leny Yoro, we also need to get some food and some sleep. Big day tomorrow, road trip is coming, and obviously all the match day content as well. Fingers crossed we get a little interview for you guys after the game. Hope you enjoyed the live from Romania. If you haven't seen that, go and watch it. Make sure you do. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. And if you haven't watched my scout report on Dorgu yet, go and watch that as well, because he is the first signing of the Ruben Amorim era, and I can't wait to see him play. Thank you for watching. Signing off now, and we'll see you on the next one.